Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45 of Sold with Updike Pugh.
My name's Jeff Updike.
And I'm Weston Pugh, and we have an exciting day, 4 great houses, and a great second segment helping buyers out.
Yep.
It is that time of the season.
It is.
So, quick side note, what is your favorite thing about tomorrow?
Tomorrow is National Tequila Day.
What is your favorite tequila? Because I already know what mine is.
Herradura Resposada.
That was mine. Oh, well. It's great stuff. So, was hoping that Ceci or Ziggy would have bought us shots today, but we've got a big fail on both ends. So, circle back with us next week.
Probably better that we don't.
It might be fun.
Second segment would be really fun.
Second segment would be fun. It would. Let's go ahead and jump into it. And the very first house that we have is 10696 East Lake Highlands Drive.
Yep, and this house is a really, really great neighborhood. It is right off of Easton Avenue in Lake Highlands. You probably know Lake Highlands begins right at Northwest Highway. It's where Plano Road and Northwest Highway intersect. And so this is one of those really convenient neighborhoods where you can be up to Northwest Highway to 635 in just a matter of minutes. This also is just a few blocks away from the elementary school. It's about, I'm going to say 3.5 or 4 blocks away from Hexter Elementary, but it does stand almost catty corner across from Robert T. Hill Middle School. So the public school access there is really great. This home sits on a cul-de-sac of 6 homes that were all built about the same time, and they're kind of, I'm going to say, very different than most of what you see in that neighborhood that was built 20 years before.
Yep. So this is a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, and it's a 2-car garage. Comes in at 2,544 square feet, and this is a 4-side brick home, 2-story. What's great about this one is that, as you see in the picture right there on the left-hand side, there's a brick wall that adds an element that the others don't have, which is a front courtyard on this unit. They've done quite a bit of renovation on this home, and it's really apparent when you walk in. I think one of the first things that we noticed is that a lot of the original trim and texture on walls and ceilings has been removed. And what they've done is they've come back with museum quality finish, which is something that we see a lot of the higher end homes coming into. The other thing too is that the windows and the doors have been replaced, and they've left the natural side on the inside, which kind of adds a nice warmth tone that creates this modern yet very inviting feel in the home.
Yep, and they've done things like updated it with the modern iron banister going up the staircase. They've kept the natural wood flooring, which I think works in this home really well. For a home that's 35 years old, it doesn't feel that way. The finishes in the kitchen are really modern and really updated, and I really like the way that this home kind of opens from the kitchen into the living room right there, and then on the other side of the kitchen is where the kind of the formal dining room is. They didn't, a lot of times the space for a formal dining room gets wasted. And then because they've got the breakfast area, and this one kind of kind of combines both of those together and does create that formal space where you feel like you can sit down and have the fancy dinner, but you also could sit down and have it breakfast very easily there.
And one of the things the designer or architect did on this home is that this house has a really strong backyard and a lot of privacy. And what they've done is they've have the house facing that way. So from the majority of the spaces, living room, kitchen, dining room, and master bathroom as well, you're actually overlooking into this amazing, really large backyard that they've done a great job of xeriscaping as well. One of the things that I didn't expect to find in this one, besides the pigeon coops that we saw here, which could easily be converted into chicken coops, is that there is a washer and dryer downstairs, but there is a second washer and dryer connection in the master bathroom or master closet off of the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's a really strong configuration.
And you can see what the openness that by looking at the outside, you can see what openness you have from every room upstairs looking out on that backyard. And this backyard, while none of this property itself is in the floodplain, it does back down to the Dixon Branch Creek, which feeds off into White Rock Lake.
Yep. So master is upstairs and faces the back of the house, and then bedrooms 2, 3, and 4 are as well upstairs. Really great floor plan, clean, easy, not a lot of wasted space where you would be confused about where does furniture placement go or anything like that. So if you're looking for a home that has the modern finish outs, low upkeep, and a private backyard and possible chicken coops, this would be a great one for you to take a look
It
at.
really would. And the home's priced at $564,000. That brings it in about about $221 a square foot. Really, really great home for that value. And we want to say thank you to Kimberly Gramatsky for letting us talk about her home today.
Yep. So now what we're going to do is, if you were to take and jump on the highway and head into downtown, we are going to head to 1122 Jackson Street, and this is Unit 513, and this is Soho Lofts, and this is, I think that when we were touring, you were like, this is one of the first buildings that was downtown Dallas that was actually converted into loft spaces.
Yeah, the building itself was built in the 1920s as part of one of the Santa Fe Railroad warehouses, and it was converted to apartments in the 1990s, and then ultimately those apartments were sold as condominiums starting in 2004. It hit the market at kind of a rough time because that's when downtown was really just kind of getting its footing underneath it, and I don't know that a lot of residents were really ready to make that kind of commitment. But man, the ones that did really scored. This is a fantastic building to live in right now. Two other things that I'll tell you about the building itself is the building is on the National Register of Historic Buildings, which is a federal registry, and then it is also in the late 1990s was designated as a Dallas landmark by the city of Dallas.
Well, one of my touchstones to this one is that this is one of the first, not this one, but a condo in here was one of the first ones I ever sold, and it was to Kelly Clarkston's tour manager back in 2009, I believe. And she got an incredible deal because they had mislabeled it as a 1-bedroom, and when I took her to it, it was an actual 2-bedroom. And it was amazing. She got one heck of a deal on that.
Yeah, and this building is one of the very few buildings that is a true loft building that was converted to owned product. There are a couple of other buildings down there that I don't think they did quite as good a job on. One of the things that I think really stands out about this unit specifically in the building is, as you look into this really broad open space, this really big space accommodates the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen, which is just off the camera to the right. But in many times in loft buildings, you end up with those 3-foot round building columns that developers just had to work their way around. And on this one, they all work in perfectly. You've got this really cool hallway as you come in, so you've got a kind of a feeling of entry. The bathroom is just right off to the right as you come into the space there. This has polished concrete floors all the way through. You can see right there where the bathroom is just around the corner from all the living space, and how that column kind of tucks in there. I think if that column were hidden, you'd lose some of that feel of this being, a really true loft. Right. Kind of great placement.
And the other thing about this one is the actual placement in the building. So many times people want to actually be facing directly downtown and see the skyline, and this is one of the ones that does face that direction. So you get really amazing views. I believe from this one you can actually see Omni and you can see Reunion. The other thing too is that quite often in these loft-like townhomes and condos is you want to know that you have space for a full-size washer and dryer, and this one actually does have a full-size washer and dryer hookup. It also has a storage unit on the hall on this floor. So that's a really great bonus if you're one of the ones that needs to have a place for your bike, or if there's anything else, luggage, whatnot, that you don't want out and about and don't have a place for it. This makes a great scenario for that.
Yeah, it really does. And this is priced at $307,000. It's about $216 a square foot for a 1,420 square foot loft. It's really, really a great value. And we want to say thank you to Mark O'Donnell for letting us talk about his home today.
Yep. So we're going to stay downtown because we really got lucky this week, and there is another one that's downtown, and this is a building that's not far. We actually walked from Soho Lofts over to Main Street, and this is the Metropolitan. It's 1200 Main Street, and it's 1409 is the unit number. And this is, again, we're in the same area where walkability has become much, much more possible. There's more things to do. When we were driving down, and we know that it was during lunchtime, there were so many more people. It seems like that the people that work and live downtown are not so much underground like they used to be, and the shops are coming back. Jason's Deli is down there. Frankie's has moved down there. There's quite a few newer restaurants. The other thing too is that Dallas has really invested in their parks, and the first two parks that Dallas put in the downtown area were called bookend parks, and one is at the very end, and it's down there by the Continental, and then there's one over here in front of the Metropolitan, and they're really great and add such outdoor seating. And it was interesting to go back because we were there right after they were completed, and then to go back years later and see how everything has begun to grow up.
Yeah.
And you just get the feel for what it's like.
Yeah. The building itself was built in 1972, and it's a 25-story building that has just some really phenomenal views. This is actually a view from this unit looking back to the east, and you've got great views of Comerica Tower. You can just probably get a glimpse of the Pegasus statue that has been down on top of the Magnolia Building for, 70 years now.
Probably.
Really a great unit. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms up on the 14th floor. The unit's got some really nice wood flooring as you come in, and that goes pretty much throughout all of the units. The backsplashes, a lot of the wet spaces in this were done in travertine,
Right.
which is a really very durable product, and it's kind of timeless in a way. You can pretty much decorate around it and have whatever feel you want. The unit's very open with 2 sides of windows in it, since this is a corner unit. So you've got a really nice view to the north. You're high enough up that you can see over the tops of some of the other buildings there. But you've still got these really incredible views right off of your living room. And again, this is looking out to the north which would be toward the Comerica building. You're also right over the top of the pool. So, you're kind of look out and see what's going on down there.
One of the things that we love about this one too is that this is actually a corner unit, and because it is a corner unit, you're going to get an actual private balcony, and the balcony actually comes in off of the little dining room that was shown there. One of the things that could really work out in this one is that dining room space could be makeshifted into a small office space with your desk looking over downtown, and it would be amazing. And this is exactly what I was talking about. So one of the great things about this is in this example right here, you can see how the buildings in the background are actually lit up. That's because the sun is shining on them from the west. So this is one of the units that gets really great morning sun from the east, but then doesn't get direct west sun that heats it up really well. One of the other things we love about this building is the amenities. This is one of those buildings that's going to have concierge,
24-hour day, 7-day a week concierge.
They've got the pool, the clubhouse. I mean the movie theater that is enormous.
Got a great gym.
Yeah, and outside space as well. This has two spots on either side of the pool. One is just more for casual hanging out, and the other is set up with multiple grills that'll allow for you to come down. One of the things that we know about this building without a shadow of a doubt, because we've had friends live in it, is that this building does become a very strong community, and you can make a lot of great friends. I know that for a fact that on the weekend there are a lot of progressive dinners that happen in this building.
And, it is one of the larger communities, certainly one of the largest downtown that is an owned product rather than a rental, rather than an apartment building. 283 units, but, just like you said, this really does become a building that's got a feel of community to it.
Absolutely. And it's a great lock and leave given the fact that it does have the concierge 24/7. So.
And this is units priced at $425,000, which is about $308 a square foot. And we wanted to say thank you very much to Kyle Byram for letting us talk about his home today.
Great unit. You definitely want to take a look at this corner unit that we have. Now we're going to go into Oak Cliff, and this is one of the areas that you probably still in Dallas can get a really solid buy. And this is a Tudor. It's 502 South Westmoreland Road. And this is actually, if you were to take Westmoreland and go across the bridge, this would take you right and turns into Mockingbird. So one of the things that this keeps in mind is this gets you to Love Field really quickly. But the other thing too is it can get you to Northwest Highway with a quick jog, and you're on Northwest Highway. You can get to work if you needed to get up to Dallas, into northern Dallas.
Yeah, or if you worked in the medical district, this is really going to be a quick 20-minute drive, maybe 25 at the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, the location on this is really great. The neighborhood itself, this is another neighborhood that was built in the 1920s, and one of the big changes is, a lot of the Oak Cliff neighborhoods, how you pull into the smaller communities, and you see those rock, the stone coverings, entrances that come over. This actually had that until about 30 years ago, and when they had to widen Westmoreland because of the traffic, they actually ended up taking out a whole row of homes in the very front of it. And so these are the little Tudors like this had become, really gems for that neighborhood. It's part of the neighborhood that's called the Dells.
Right. And Dallas is one of the areas that really does appreciate their Tudors. And this is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's 1,500 square feet. Again, it was built in 1928. One of the things that's significant about the Tudors is that they have the front covered porch, and typically they have 2 front doors. The main front door is usually not visible from the street, where the other one, as you see here, is and looks more like just a regular door. And that was back in the day they used to rent those front rooms out. So Airbnbs have been here much longer than you noticed. You just didn't realize.
Without the technology.
This one has been renovated, and in the pictures it looked great, and we were really happy that when we walked in that the pictures and what we saw when we came to it actually were similar. So they've taken and opened this up so that the living room, dining room, and the kitchen all flow together, and they've really increased the size of this this kitchen right here. Going back with the farmhouse look, they did the shaker style cabinets, and they did the wainscot on the wall, and then also a farm sink and butcher block countertops. So they really did a great job of tying all these elements together to create one harmonious kitchen.
Yeah, and a lot of the core things have been done on this house. It has a newer HVAC system that's been done. Electrical wiring has been upgraded. The plumbing's been upgraded. It's got a 40-gallon gas hot water heater and a 30-year composition roof that's been installed. So this is really one of those that I think, it's not just an affordable home to purchase, but it's going to be much more affordable to operate than a normal 1920 construction would.
Absolutely, and that's one of the core things that you need to look at, and we're about to discuss that in the second segment, is making sure that the elements that are there that just aren't pretty are actually working and not going to need to be replaced in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep, and this is a picture of the backyard that's really very well organized, I'm going to say, because it's kind of a tiered backyard that goes up from the house. There is up in the very back end corner of it, there's a koi pond with a fountain, and then there's a tier down below that you have room to have picnic table on, or actually there is a picnic table on, and then you come on down and you've got this really cool seating area down closer to the home. And I know some people are going to look at this and go, but it's on Westmoreland. But let me tell you, there's also access from the alley for parking in the rear, so you don't have to navigate Westmoreland to get in and out unless you just want to.
And in that last picture, you saw that also one of the other things, too, that many people overlook is the condition of the fence. And the fence in this one was recently redone. And so this is one of those houses that maybe you could change the paint if you wanted to, but you really don't have to. This is a turnkey ready home.
Absolutely. And it's priced at $247,500, and that brings it in about $224 a square foot. And we wanted to say thank you to Rob Puckett for letting us talk about his home today.
Yep, it was a great series. If you'd like any information about these homes or anything else that's in your neighborhood, please let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you. One of the things that has come up recently is that people ask us to look up a home that they may have found on another website. And it's quite interesting is that there is a lot of times the websites that aren't like an Ebby or a Dave Perry Miller or Updike Pugh or Realtor.com that actually don't have really current data. And so it's really important before you get your wheels going and get excited that you actually reach out to an agent, preferably us, and find out what the status is of that home before you get going.
Yeah, it's we've had a lot of buyer disappointment where people will call us and say, I found this house on XYZ website, and I've done all this research, and here's all this information, and let's go look at it. And we pull it up and do our research, and we find that it sold 3 months ago, or It's just, please give us a call. If you find houses you'd like to see or you just want more info on, please give us a call. We'd love to talk to you.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we did last week was we talked about mistakes that sellers can make. And what we want to do now is kind of switch and look at the other side of the transaction and talk about what are some of the mistakes that buyers need to avoid at all costs. Because this is when things get serious. There's time is of the essence. Earnest money option fees are at risk. And you've got to have some due diligence done before you get going in on this process. And
Right.
so what's the first thing that we notice that we want to talk about?
Well, the first thing that we always tell people is don't be seduced by how well the house looks. And just like in this last house, it was a beautiful, well done, very well decorated home, but the owner had also taken the time to do all of that core work. And there are a lot of ways to research that information, either through the seller's disclosure statement or city permits or, all the stuff that we normally do behind the scenes to get you a really good perspective on what that house is like.
Yep, because so often we get really excited and we eat with our eyes, is the term that I like to use. And so things like workmanship and quality aren't always something that we're thinking about because it looks shiny, it's been styled, the look is right. And this can be for brand new construction or it can be for flip. It's not one or the other. And so we really think that slowing down and taking your time to look all the way through the house and then doing a little bit of research. And that's one of the things that we love to do and make sure that clients are spending their money properly versus just throwing it away.
Right.
The other thing too is that builders and flippers also have reputations. And if there's a reputation that is negative, that's one of the things that you really should heed because it is there for a reason.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the number 2 mistake, what would that be, Weston?
So this is the one, and we actually have had clients that have had this happen to them, is they bought the home that was not near where they lived, not near where they worked, wasn't near where their friends were. And they get super excited about what their money can buy, or they think that this is the life that they want. But what happens is they become sad. Friends don't visit, commutes are long, and they begin to resent the product. And it's not just that is the problem, it's that then they begin to want out of a home. And we've had it where they want out really quickly, and there's nothing left when they want out quickly.
Yep. And, one of the things that we always talk to people about is, like, where do you live your life? Where do your kids go to a private school that you want to keep them in that private school? Do they go to a public school that you want to keep them in that public school? Where do you work? What restaurants do you enjoy? What are your outdoor activities that just make up basically where do you live your life?
Yep. And so we encourage people to actually not only buy the house, but buy the neighborhood that they're living in. It makes for a full life that they're going to have and a lifestyle versus just a home that they're interested in. So with that said, one of the third things that we want to talk about is choosing a lender based on advertisement rate alone.
Yep.
And this is...
We see bad things happen a lot where people will especially go online with online lenders, and they will see a rate that lender may be offering to their best customer under the most perfect circumstances, putting the most money down when you've got a credit score that's perfect, and they lure consumers in with that. And consumers get far enough along in the process of the application and the processing that at the point that everything is disclosed to the consumer and the rate is different or the closing costs are higher, it throws everything out of whack. And then at that point, that buyer might be too far along in the process to be able to shift over to a different lender.
And one of the things too is that the lender's not on the hook during this transaction. So if your lender can't perform within the guidelines that are set up within the contract, and you suddenly are not inside and are not closing on the date that it was stated and there's no extension, at that point the seller is in control of that contract, and they can either terminate and force you or extend. It just depends on what your relationship has been thus far. So All lenders are not created equal.
That is very true.
Important.
Yeah, and just like you were saying with the contract, we have had instances where where a buyer went under contract with a seller, and the seller got a better contract as a backup contract, and the first buyer going through with their lender was having trouble getting to close on time. Well, the seller's incentive is going to be to terminate that first contract to be able to move on to number two. And so buyer number one, if they can't perform because the lender didn't perform, then they're the ones that are out the earnest money, they're out the option money, they're out the appraisal fee, they're out the inspection fee, and and there's no recourse against the lender. So there are a lot of really great lenders out there, just like there are in every industry. We work with Jeremy Radcliffe at SWBC, and can't say enough about him because, when Jeremy steps in and says, here's what's going on, then you can trust that what he's telling you is the truth.
The other thing too is that if you submit an offer from an online, and I'm not going to say all of them, but if certain online lenders, your offer is not taken as seriously because the other agent is probably going to be talking to the seller saying, there's going to be trouble probably with this might be delayed. And if they're in a situation where they have to sell and they have hard deadlines, they're less likely to actually execute a contract with you. So these are things that all begin to work, probably not in a buyer's best interest.
Yep. So if you'd like Jerry's contact info, reach out to us. We'll be happy to share it with you. And what is our number 4 mistake that we want buyers to avoid?
So this is a funny one because this is called DIY moving, and there is so much truth in this. So a lot of times everything is poured into the contract. We're trying to get it financed. We're looking for our closing dates. We're trying to get utilities set up. We're going to get everything on. Insurance is done. And then it slips through the crack and moving isn't quite scheduled, and everybody thinks that they can do it themselves. And it is a very stressful time, and it is not fun, and it does not make moving into a home fun. It comes in like an explosion. So we kind of want to point out that buyers typically are going to underestimate 4 things about moving. They're going to underestimate how much stuff they have, the size of the truck they are renting, the amount of time that they need, and the ability and reliability of the help that they're asking people to help. And we know this up front because I have been with a client and he said, hey, they weren't able to get everything on the first truck. Can you meet them tomorrow to get the rest of it? It's just a little bit. And I showed up at the house and I swear it had not even been packed. And the truck pulls up and it is an enormous truck, and he thought it was only a little bit left. They filled that truck to the point that they're pushing it in and pulling it shut, and that's how they got out of there. So 5.5 hours later, I texted and said, the little bit of stuff that you have left is now on the truck and headed towards you.
Yeah. The other thing that you also get when you're not trying to do the move yourself is you get some damage insurance from the carriers. And that is, we have a couple of movers that we work with. Actually, one that I think you're going to get to have on the show in a few weeks. And moving in the process of moving, something is going to get damaged.
Absolutely.
It's part of the process. So it's minimizing what that is, and then making sure that whatever it is going to be covered for by the mover. And in lots of instances, it is. So.
And Murphy's Law, if you're moving, it's going to be 110 degrees or raining.
Right.
You can bet on that. But if you hire movers, it's like, oh, it's a nice 70-day, cool little breeze.
Yep.
So think ahead. And if you need movers, we definitely know who to refer you to.
Yep. So those are our 4 tips that we think buyers should avoid at all costs. I think that we could probably have a list of about 50 of those, but 50 of those probably would not make for a good second segment. So.
No, but this is a great time, and we're so glad that everybody was able to tune in to us. We've had a great time. If you have any time you have an idea for a show, we'd love to hear about you. If you'd like to be on the show, please reach out to us and let us know.
Yep. We'd like to thank you for tuning in with us today. Hopefully you're watching this on our Facebook page. If you're not, go visit it. Give us a like there, and we'll kind of keep you updated with what's going on there. Our Instagram page has pictures of the properties that we're working with at the moment. We also kind of promote things that are going on in the real estate industry there. there. UpdikePugh.com is our website. Lots of detailed information there. Go set up your own market reports, set up your own searches. Last of all, homeprice.fyi. You can go get an instant value to a property. Just put the address in, a couple of other pieces of info, and you'll instantly have an address. Last of all, reach out to us in the traditional way. Our phone number is 214-377-2223. We would love to hear from you.
And remember, we want to be your realtors for life.